Scott Morrison has suffered a hit to his personal popularity amid a faltering vaccine rollout. According, it says, to the latest Newspoll, the survey published in the Australian newspaper today shows that the Prime Minister's approval is rating his way down in the battleground states of Western Australia and Queensland. Between March and June, the PM's approval rating in WA sunk from 37% to 22%. It's the same story in Queensland too, where his approval has fallen hard from 35% to 20%. For his reaction, I'm joined as always on a Monday night by the legend himself, the host of Alan Jones, my good friend, Alan Jones. Well, he's lost a bit of skin, Alan, but my sense is that voters are marking him down without writing him off. You're a Queenslander. You watch WA like I do. What's your assessment?
Well, Peter, I just don't think those figures are as significant as the small print. Now, the small print is even worse. For example, in Victoria, Labor are ahead 53-47. In South Australia, 54-46. In WA, 53-47. With the 18 to 34-year-olds, Labor are ahead 63-37. For the 35 to 49s, Labor in front 54-46. For the TAFE and technically educated cohort, and you and I have spoken about this, 53-47 to Labor. For the university educated, 52-48 to Labor. Languages other than English in the home, 58-42 to Labor. Look, you could go on and on. I think some people in the Morrison government think, oh, it's okay, Albo's the bloke over there, he can't beat us, we're going to win, we won last time, we'll win now. I think these figures are sending an ominous warning to the government. They've got to do infinitely better than they're currently doing.
Yeah, look, you and I don't place a whole lot of value necessarily on published polls, but the trend is important. The trend is important. It's a good guide, and the trend would say to them they've got to do some pretty fast footwork on the veracity question about the Prime Minister. They want to see the authenticity. They want to see that he's absolutely committed to the rollout. I think they can get it back on track, but they've got to have that done by the end of the year would be my read. Another issue I picked up today that I know you're particularly strong about, a Chinese state-owned company is selling off some 17,000 hectares of prime agricultural land in and around the Liverpool Plains after striking a deal with the Berejiklian government to walk away from a $1 billion coal project in the region. Shenhua has listed a whole lot of farms there for sale. The asking price, $122 million. Now, two questions for you. Are you happy to see Shenhua pack up and go? And how concerned are you that there'll be a vacuum and another foreign player will get there? Are our FIRB, our foreign investment rules, tight enough now that there's a chance this land could get back in Australian hands?
Yeah, well, Peter, none of that can happen. Actually, the story here is that Barilaro, prior to the by-election in the Upper Hunter, bought back the Shenhua licence, which will never be issued again in the Liverpool Plains. He also altered what's called the Future of Coal map to indicate that there won't be any further approvals.
No, I mean the farming land.
The farming land is...
The farming land.
I'm sorry. The farming land's 21,500 acres. Now, if someone wants to buy that, they can, but they won't get access. Look, it's rubbish coal, I've got to say. 100 million tonnes of dirt for 10 million tonnes of coal. And the real problem here was that the aquifers only go down 30 metres. The coal seams, the pits were going down, three of them, 300 metres. So what I think the government have got to do here is to see whether the people from whom the land was bought, and of course Shenhua are now getting a bit smart, aren't they? They're saying, oh, well, you didn't allow us to mine, we own the farms, we'll send them back and we'll sell them back at our price. Well, I don't think they're going to buy it at that price. It is some of the finest agricultural land in the world. As I said, it's 21,500 acres. It's an awful slab of land. I mean, it's almost as big as the Credlin farm, the dairy farm out there in Western Victoria. But, you know, nothing could approximate that. But there we are. Now, Peter, you can make a bid.
You can too. You can too. I've got to ask you, you're the tennis player, not me. Ash Barty, what I loved was the timing of the anniversary with Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley, absolutely, and a great shot of the arm for people in Sydney to see her win over the weekend. But she's just so humble. In the days of over-the-top sports people, gee, she's refreshing.
Absolutely. And look, I remember I spoke to her actually when she won the junior singles title 10 years ago, and I spoke to her when she won the French Championship 2 years ago, and she hasn't changed a bit. It's a wonderful family. Mum and Dad stay in the background. There are two sisters. They're very tight, very close, and there are certain values here. I thought that Barty's performance post-match was even better than during the match. I mean, we know she can play. She's got all the equipment. She's not much bigger than some of the ball boys, I might add, but she's a class player with all the shots in the game. However, her performance after the match was that humility and decency and dignity and willingness to share and the ability to say the right things. I mean, she speaks beautifully and she never forgets the team that got her there. And look, she's an ornament to Australian sport. And I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people out there in sport and beyond, and even in the world of politics, who've got a lot to learn from this 25-year-old girl from Ipswich.
Spot on. There's a country girl, you can tell it a mile off. Dylan Alcott, the Golden Slam. Explain that one for me.
Well, a Grand Slam is when you win the Australian, French, Wimbledon and American. And, of course, this is the new thing. This is this para-quadriplegic games. There aren't many starters in this, thankfully. I mean, I would hope one day we won't have it at all because medical progress would be such that we'd be able to correct and cure spines as we do broken legs. But thankfully, there aren't too many starters in all of this, and he is now heading to win the American Championship, just as I must say Novak Djokovic. And the last person to do that for the men's was Rodney Laver, and the only person to do that before that was Fred Perry. So there aren't many people who win the Australian, French, Wimbledon and America. That's called the Grand Slam. Alcott has won 3 of them for the quadriplegic sport, and Novak Djokovic has won 3 in the able-bodied sport. Ash has won this one here, but she'll be heading for the American. On the other hand, Rafael Nadal will be playing in the American, so each of them has won 20 Grand Slam championships, each Novak and Rafa, and Roger's out of it most probably, so it'll be a showdown between Rafa and Novak. Whoever wins that in the US Open, if either of them does, they then win more Grand Slams than any player in history.
Wow, lots to watch. There you go. There's my next few months of TV. Alan Jones, thank you for your time.